But I'm going to invite into the conversation Dane McKinley. He is from the Kopanang Africa Against Xenophobia organization, and he'll just let us in, Dale, about, now you're planning to march on Saturday. The march is not happening on tomorrow as you had planned. Maybe just let our viewers in on why is it that the march is not happening tomorrow, and why Saturday?
Well, the reason why it's not happening tomorrow is because the JMPD has prohibited our march. We went through all the proper procedures, the notification, and on late Thursday last week they notified us that they had prohibited the march. The reasons that they gave for prohibiting the march was because Operation Dudula was going to create violence and was going to attack the march, and therefore they couldn't allow it to continue. And they also then cited some fake news that had been circulating about illegal immigrants marching against the laws of South Africa. Both of these are nonsensical reasons, have no basis in law. So we have then taken, as you mentioned, we're taking an urgent application to the High Court on Tuesday to overturn the prohibition, and we set Saturday the 26th as the date for the new march.
Just let us in on what you're worried about. This is a march that you are going to highlight your dissatisfaction over Operation Dudula and what is happening here in South Africa. Maybe just let us in on what are your main concerns regarding this Operation Dudula and what has been happening, and calls for for migrants to basically be legal and to operate legally in South Africa.
Sure. I think the first and biggest concern is that Operation Dudula is preaching hatred, inciting violence, and engaging in hate speech. All of these are against our laws. They're against the constitutional principles and values, and yet what we see is nothing happening. We see the police essentially allowing Operation Dudula to blackmail us into prohibiting our march. We see them not protecting informal traders that are being attacked at Bara, in Soweto, or in Alex and other places. And this is of huge concern, because if our law enforcement authorities are not going to enforce the law equally, and if Operation Dudula is going to be allowed to do what they can, willy-nilly, then we have to step up, and that's why we're concerned. We're also concerned by the actions of the authorities outside of the police, which is the Department of Home Affairs and the ANC as the ruling party, in not denouncing the xenophobic tendencies, in introducing new legislation that will only increase tensions in the workplace, the new quota system, as well as the Department of Home Affairs essentially criminalizing many illegal immigrants unnecessarily. So it's not necessarily their fault. So all of these things need to be addressed. And Operation Dudula is taking advantage of that space and preaching hatred and division, and we are mounting a response to that.
What conversations are you having then with the likes of your Home Affairs Department and government as a whole to help address what you're worried about as an organization? Because I see that you have termed it as xenophobic since you're calling yourselves Kopanang Africa Against Xenophobia, meaning that you've termed what is happening right now as a xenophobic. Then are you having conversations with government and the powers that be to ensure that what you've termed as xenophobia is addressed?
Well, many of the organizations that are part of our coalition, CORMSA here, right here, many of these organizations that are here at this Human Rights Festival, we've been engaging government for the last decade on issues of immigration policy. We've tried, in many, many cases, we've asked the politicians to stop making xenophobic statements, to basically sit down with workers, to sit down with immigrant organizations and to discuss. They have not done so. So when this happens, then we're forced onto the streets. This is our only other option. So we are open. Absolutely, all the organizations are open. We want to make legislation that is in line with our Constitution, that also involves everybody, but only if the government is willing to do so. We cannot force them to do so, but we're going to pressure them by being on the streets as well and reminding them that they have a job to do and that they are elected to enforce our Constitution and to follow those principles and values.
People were saying that this march that you've planned is something that of a march against South Africa as a whole, as an organization, and as a march against locals as a whole. It's basically foreign nationals versus locals. What do you say then to such sentiments, with people viewing what you're doing as something that will perpetuate and even incite violence on the ground?
Absolutely nonsense. First of all, that is fake news. That is exactly what was put out for illegal immigrants who are marching. We accept everyone, South Africans, immigrants, anyone who's coming to march is more than welcome. The point to make is that we're not pitting anybody against. We're saying everyone is equal. We're saying that basically if you have a proper immigration system, we have a proper labor system, then we won't have many illegal immigrants, because people are being illegalized and criminalized not because it's their own fault, but because of a dysfunctional system. So we're not pitting anybody against anyone else. We're not pitting locals in South Africa. We're saying that, in fact, it is in the interests of South Africans to have immigrant communities here. It's in the interest of South Africans to welcome them. It's in the interest of us to deal with these issues together. We are the ones that are trying to unite people and bring South Africans and immigrants together. We're not trying to divide them at all.